The marble floors of Sterling Financial Tower gleamed under crystal chandeliers, but Victoria Sterling felt nothing but emptiness as she walked through her empire's headquarters. At 62, she had built a fortune that could feed nations, yet she couldn't remember the last time she'd felt genuinely moved by another human being. Her late husband's words echoed in her mind, "Money reveals who people really are, Victoria. The question is, what will you do with that knowledge?" 3 months after his funeral, Victoria made a decision that would change everything. She would conduct an experiment, one that would either restore her faith in humanity or confirm her growing cynicism about human nature. She had her assistant prepare 4 identical black credit cards, each loaded with $50,000 and no spending limits for 24 hours. The recipients would be chosen from different walks of life, all unaware they were being tested. The first card went to Marcus Chen, a 28-year-old investment banker from her own building. Victoria watched from her office window as her assistant handed him the card outside the coffee shop he frequented. "Congratulations, Mr. Chen," the assistant said. "You've been selected for our customer loyalty program. This card has no limits for the next 24 hours. Use it however you wish." Marcus's eyes lit up like a child on Christmas morning. Within an hour, Victoria's phone buzzed with transaction alerts. A $15,000 Rolex, $8,000 suit from Armani. Dinner at the city's most exclusive restaurant for $2,000. By evening, Marcus had blown through $35,000 on luxury items he'd been coveting for months. The second recipient was Sarah Martinez, a single mother working double shifts as a nurse at City General Hospital. When the assistant found her during her lunch break in the hospital cafeteria, Sarah's tired eyes widened in disbelief. "Are you sure this isn't a mistake?" she asked, turning the black card over in her calloused hands. "No mistake, Mom. 24 hours, no limits." Sarah's spending pattern was different. First, she paid off her overdue rent, $2,400. Then her mother's medical bills, $8,900. She bought groceries for a month, new shoes for her twin boys, and had her car fixed. Her largest single purchase was a $500 tablet for her oldest son who'd been struggling in school without proper technology. By day's end, Sarah had spent $18,000, every dollar going toward necessities and her family's immediate needs. The third card found its way to David Reeves, a recently laid-off construction foreman drowning in debt. When he received the card outside the unemployment office, his hands shook. David's story unfolded predictably. He hit the casino first, convinced this was his chance to solve everything. But luck wasn't on his side. After losing $20,000 in 4 hours, panic set in. He spent another $5,000 on alcohol, trying to numb the growing realization that he'd wasted a miracle. But it was the fourth recipient who would shatter every assumption Victoria had about human nature. James Washington, 67, had been the night janitor at Sterling Financial Tower for 15 years. Victoria had passed him countless times in the hallways, but like most executives, she'd never really seen him. He was invisible, another uniform in a building full of suits. When the assistant found James emptying trash cans on the 15th floor, he nearly dropped his mop. "Sir, you've been selected to receive this special credit card," the assistant explained. "You have 24 hours to spend whatever you'd like. There are no limits." James stared at the card, then at the young woman in the expensive suit. "You sure you got the right person?" "I'm just the janitor." "We're absolutely sure, Mr. Washington." Victoria expected James to follow a pattern similar to Sarah, paying bills, buying necessities. But as the transaction alerts began flooding her phone the next morning, she found herself reaching for reading glasses, certain there had been a mistake. The first charge, $847 to Mercy Children's Hospital. The second, $1,200 to the City Food Bank. Third, $2,300 to Street Mary's homeless shelter. Fourth, $900 to buy winter coats, which security footage later showed him distributing to homeless individuals near the subway station. But it was transaction number 15 that made Victoria's breath catch in her throat. $12,000 to the Leukemia Research Foundation. Unable to contain her curiosity, Victoria found herself doing something she'd never done in 15 years. She took the elevator down to find James during his shift. She found him in the parking garage, methodically mopping the same section of floor he cleaned every night. "Mr. Washington?" she called softly. James looked up, surprised to see the building's owner speaking to him directly. "Mom, is everything all right? I need to ask you something. The credit card you received yesterday, I saw your purchases. The donation to the Leukemia Foundation. Why that charity specifically?" James leaned on his mop, and for the first time, Victoria really looked at him. She saw the deep lines around his eyes, the careful way he held himself, the quiet dignity in his bearing. "My granddaughter Emma," he said simply. "She's 8. Been fighting leukemia for 2 years now. Her mom, that's my daughter Lisa. She works 3 jobs trying to pay for treatments, but it's never enough." His voice cracked slightly. "I've been saving every extra penny for 2 years, but it's like trying to fill the ocean with a teaspoon." "But you could have used that money for her treatment directly," Victoria said, genuinely puzzled. James smiled, and it transformed his entire face. "Mom, I figured if God was gonna bless me with $50,000 for one day, it wasn't just for Emma. There's lots of other kids fighting what she's fighting. Lots of other families going hungry while they spend everything on hospitals. I kept enough to pay for Emma's next round of treatment, say about $8,000, but the rest," he shrugged. "Well, I figured I'd spread it around to folks who need it." Victoria felt something crack open in her chest. "What about yourself, Mr. Washington? Didn't you want anything for yourself?" "Oh, I got myself something." James grinned, reaching into his pocket. He pulled out a small digital camera. $97. "Been wanting to take pictures of Emma while she..." His voice trailed off, but Victoria understood. That night, Victoria sat in her penthouse apartment, looking out at the city lights, seeing them differently than she had in years. She thought about Marcus, now admiring his new watch while his credit card bills mounted. About David, waking up to the same problems he'd tried to gamble away. About Sarah, sleeping peacefully for the first time in months with her bills paid. But mostly, she thought about James Washington, who had been given the power of wealth for one day and used it exactly the way her late husband would have. The next morning, Victoria made several calls. The first was to her lawyer, restructuring her will to establish the James Washington Foundation for Childhood Cancer Research. The second was to the hospital, ensuring Emma Washington would receive the best care available, all expenses paid. The third call was to James himself. "Mr. Washington, this is Victoria Sterling. Could you come to my office when your shift ends?" When James arrived, still in his janitorial uniform, Victoria stood to greet him, something that surprised them both. "Mr. Washington, I have a proposition for you. I'm looking for someone to help me run a new foundation focused on helping families facing childhood cancer. The position comes with a substantial salary and full benefits. Are you interested?" James sat in stunned silence for a long moment. "Mom, I don't have any fancy education or business experience." "No," Victoria agreed. "But you have something much more valuable. You understand what wealth is really for." As James wiped tears from his eyes, Victoria realized her husband had been wrong about one thing. Money didn't just reveal who people really are. Sometimes, it revealed who they could become. And sometimes, if you were very lucky, it revealed who had been there all along, invisible in plain sight, waiting for someone to finally see them. 6 months later, the James Washington Foundation had raised over $2 million. Emma Washington was in remission, and every night, Victoria found herself stopping by the foundation's offices, not to check on operations, but to listen to James share stories about the families they'd helped. She had spent her life accumulating wealth, but it took a janitor with a $97 camera and a heart bigger than her entire fortune to teach her what it was worth.